Hi, on this video we'll be talking about the Bontle Cardigan. So this is the first of the My Design Process series. So on the series I'll be talking about different patterns and how I came about with the design. So I'll be starting off with the Bontle Cardigan. And so this is going to be slightly different from all the other patterns that I'll be talking about on the series, because in this case I started off with the yarn, and whereas most of the time I usually have some yarn and I get to decide what I want to do with it or what I want to design, or I have an idea, then I go shopping for the yarn. So it's going to be slightly different because I already had the yarn in my hands and I had to decide what I wanted to do with it. So when I bought this yarn, I wanted to make a throw because this is a super bulky yarn and it is African Expressions Desire. So I wanted to knit something, a throw in the first place, but then the idea that I had didn't quite work out and I was left with all the yarn that I wanted to use but didn't know what to do with it. So I've always shied away from super bulky garments, but I had some yarn and I wanted to actually make the best out of it because it's nice and soft and very light. The skein is very light, it's not dense at all. So I had to come up with some idea on what to knit. So this is how this top came about. As I mentioned earlier, the name is Bontle. So it is worked from the top down. So I decided right from the start that I wanted something that can be worked from the top down, because as this is a bulky yarn, a super bulky yarn, I wanted some to be able to try it on and see how it fits as I go. So it's worked from the top down. And then the other thing that I also put into consideration with this was a V-neck. So as you can see, when you're looking at the top, you start off with very few stitches and increase all the way down. So that means when you're looking at the top part, there isn't really any bulk here. So the bulkiness of the fabric doesn't really affect the look on your neckline close to your face, because when you're working a V neck, depending on how deep or how low you want the V to go, the fabric grows very gradually, and by the time it really reaches what the pieces meet, you are very far from your face and from your neck. So that's what I wanted with in this case. And then the other thing that I also had to consider was the stitches that I was going to use. So as you can see, all the increases were done in reverse stockinette. So I've got the cables here on the sides, but as you move towards the center, it's reverse stockinette. So one thing that I love about reverse stockinette is that it lays very flat. That's why it makes a great background for cables, because it lies very flat, and unlike stockinette, it just doesn't really look plump. So that's one thing that I really loved about it. So that meant that much of the bulk will be taken away, particularly at the front. So the larger portion of the front of the garment is in reverse stockinette, and that has really helped in making this super bulky and look not so bulky. And then I also used some very minimalistic cables. So I'll insert some photos so you can see the back as well. So as you can see, the back has got this center panel. That's just some honeycomb cables. They are not really super busy cables, and they are very tiny little cables. And when they are grouped together, they still don't make, they are not like, traveling cables or other bulky cables that would really stand out. And then I also used the simple ones on the sides, like what I've done here at the front. So when you look at that, you'll realize that that doesn't really make the fabric look too busy, and it really makes it look, like a regular fabric, not necessarily a super bulky one. And then the other thing and the other element that I added was that as this was increased this way, you see, as soon as you get to the center, you also start decreasing this way. So that means the section here doesn't have a lot of this bulky fabric, because it starts tapering away all the way to the sides. So that also helps a lot with making this garment as light as it looks. And then the other thing that I did was a set-in sleeve. So if you notice, set-in sleeves really fit in very well on the body, unlike a drop sleeve. I really love drop sleeves, by the way, but when you're looking at fabric like this that's made from super bulky yarn, it's much easier to just do a certain sleeve and it looks well fitted on the arm. And as I mentioned earlier, I also used a lot of reverse stockinette except for this cable here at the top. So in that way, and then there are some twisted stitches. So in that way, the sleeves themselves do not really look bulky. They just fit and follow the arm and taper well off, following the arm all the way down. So that really also helps quite a bit. And then the last feature that really helped in this garment, and it was kind of quite accidental, because when I was working on this, I had thought of making it some either I-cord ties or some double knitted ties, or maybe what was the other thing, or maybe ribbed. So I was still debating with myself. I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just swatch all of them and see which one is going to be the lightest looking. But then I was at a craft store buying my daughter some school supplies when I saw this ribbon, and it matched the color very well, and it looked, just perfect for this yarn, and the thickness was actually quite great too. So I bought the ribbon, and when I put it here, it just made a huge difference in the look of the entire garment, because it makes it light, airy, and quite a relaxed looking cardigan. So that was what I had to, call the crowning moment of this design. So I'm really excited about how it turned out. And I know a lot of people shy away from super bulky and super bulky garments because they say they look too puffy, they don't sit well, they don't suit them well. But I think if you play around with any of these features that I mentioned here, you can actually get away with it, and you can actually wear a super bulky garment that doesn't look so bulky. So I only used 4 skeins on this, and I didn't even finish the 4th one. So this probably weighs less than 400 grams. It's a very light garment. So it's something worth trying, and that's why I shared this with you, because I wanted to just show that, it's possible to work on a super bulky garment that doesn't look bulky at all. So thank you so much for watching. See you soon.